All right, Jake. So, mate, every Monday we're going to start to use as the wrap-up of the week of the rugby league. But I think one thing we can talk about is when we interviewed Lonnie last week, and what I got from him, obviously he's doing some massive things, but what I took away was that he really believed he could have gone further in footy if he had the right guidance and help. And it's not always the family's fault. They only know what they know, right?
Yep.
But it was refreshing to see, because I sometimes feel like that, the missed opportunity, like of going, fuck, I wish I knew, like I always say I wish I had this mind when I was like 21 or 30 or 35, but I could see, because he's got the stature, he had the mongrel in him to do well.
Yep.
But sometimes you just need that right guidance at a certain age to take you to that next level. And you could see it in his face. But we're going to talk everything about rugby league this week.
Yeah, which is good. I'm looking forward to it. I want to...
Because, mate, you're very outspoken week to week when we talk.
Well, with rugby league, I like to have...
And then you've got a guy that's betting in your household.
Gearing.
Yeah. That gets really pissed off as well.
Yeah, we do. We get emotional. It's an important thing to ride the emotional roller coaster of rugby league. But the biggest thing I got out of the week, and I actually watched or attempted to watch all the games. There was times where I had to walk away just due to what they're getting the referees to do at the moment. Some
of those penalties weren't penalties.
Well, some of the penalties actually ruining portions of the game.
Yeah.
They're not allowing the players to dictate the outcome in some ways. I think the way that the players are handling it is outstanding. The NRL should probably look at doing something for the players, which they won't, for how hard they're actually competing, even though they're getting, curveballs thrown at them left, right and centre. And they can say what they want. The coaches have obviously been gagged. There's an email going around apparently stating that they can't question anything the referees do. Well, how's that appropriate if everyone's allowed to say what they want about the coaches and the players and their performances and the way they do their job, Is
rugby league the only sport you can't talk out about the referees? Or is it every sport?
Mate, to be honest with you, I haven't... off the top of my head, the coaches that aren't allowed to say stuff about the refereeing, in the NBA, pretty much anyone says what they want, which is good. It's the same as the UFC. The UFC, the fighters talk about world events.
What's funny is Dana White comes out and says, I'm not going to get those referees to those judges to judge anymore.
100%.
Because what the hell were they watching?
Well, think about this, right?
So, like, he's saying, I'm not going to get them. What the hell were they watching?
Exactly right. And that's how, the refs aren't going to get everything right. I think most fans understand
Everyone's aware of that.
Everyone's aware, but to go out there with the narrative to push a certain thing, it ruins the spectacle of the actual game. They're trying to sell the game to America, apparently. They're actually destroying that by trying to govern what the players are paid to do, which is play, right? Imagine just coming out of a 10-week preseason as a player and a coach, and by round 4 or 5 we're in now, all these things start to happen. What's the point of it?
Well, they've always said this about a lot of the decisions they make throughout the year. It's like a knee-jerk reaction to something that happens, and then that obviously taking this type of response to the referees, sin binning more players because of the head-eye tackles, which, to be honest, some of them didn't warrant to be sin binned.
Accidents happen.
Yeah.
And there was a statement Des Hasler said, they say that you should, drop your target. The guy who plays fullback for the Rabbitohs, he's 5'4".
Yeah.
How do you, as a 6'1" front rower, back rower, whatever, drop your target?
Yeah.
That's just saying, you just gotta abide by this, and if you touch their head, it's 10 in the bin. It ruins the game. The whole game's about physical contact.
Yeah.
It's about intimidation. It's about psychologically trying to impose your will on another person without actually trying to hurt them, but letting them know.
Here's one for you. Look, I go for Manly. I didn't think they were going to win.
Yeah.
But, mate, they were getting held down for a long time, long periods, right? In games like that, you can't come out and talk about how long Melbourne were laying over the players. Melbourne have always done this.
Yeah.
Melbourne will push the narrative of getting away with whatever they got to get away with until they get pulled up. They'll peg it back, and then they'll build towards that again because they've always done it.
Win by 1,000 cuts.
100%, but they do that better than anyone else.
Yep.
And they bring it back slowly. They must have a system there. But, you know, at every point, what the referees should be able to do as well is if you can criticise the referees should be able to come and criticise the team for what they were doing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it creates a whole other thing.
Well, what it is it's like giving each other feedback of where you got to improve. And you know what? I believe, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I believe that the relationships with the players and the referees could become much better because it'll be more constructive rather than, hey, it's my way and that's it.
Yeah.
Because no one works well that way.
The thing is, everyone's there to watch the players play.
Yeah.
No one actually cares what the referee does to an extent.
But to be honestly, I had to switch off the Manly game.
Yeah. Well, that's that's what they're creating. They're creating people who actually want to watch the game to stop watching it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a game anymore. It's you may as well go out with 12 or 11 players because that's what they're doing. Every 8 to 9 minutes, someone's getting sent to the sin bin. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't create like entertainment of the game. It's just like everyone just goes, oh, here we go again. Oh, another one. What happens when, it's a prelim semi-final and Nathan Cleary or a Cameron Munster, those types of players, they hit someone in the head, you're gonna put that in play for them to miss a grand final,
man,
and that'll take eyes away because your best players, your tier 1 players, are not playing in the biggest game.
And they need the best players out there.
Yeah, it's silly.
They need the best players out there. Look, my daughter had to leave the room.
Yeah.
Not because she gets angry, but she was so frustrated by the game. She went to her friend's house within 20 minutes. Yeah. And this is the problem. When they don't allow these conversations to happen, they do that to the young supporters out there.
They'll just stop watching.
You know?
That's what I mean. Like, I love footy.
Yeah.
Footy gave me a way to express myself, and I was able to have it as a job for a few years. Like, it's the best. But like, you don't want to watch it when it's just like that.
Look, to be honest,
stupid.
I've almost because my team's with the DC thing, I've almost turned off them, but I can't stop watching it myself.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what they're trying to do too.
Plus,
get everyone emotionally attached.
Yeah. Well, fucking hell, mate. It's like the love-hate relationship. You know, It's like what's a, I won't say your wife, but you can't say that. You can't say that. But going forward, obviously Abdo's come out. He could be doing a better job at that. He could be having better conversations. They should be allowed to have a go at the coaches themselves in a way where it's like, hey, you know what? I don't agree with what so-and-so said or Craig Bellamy said about this, because if you look at what their side's doing, they're going against the rules. So we have to create this rule. If they come out on the front foot and at least say it, they're not, and the team shouldn't feel like they're getting singled out. It should just be a conversation, because when the fans hear that, they go, well, you know what? Look at that CEO. All right, he's copping it, but he's giving it back and he's saying, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah. And that's the healthiest
thing. That's not that hard, is it?
No, the healthiest thing is constructive conversations. Doesn't mean you have to agree, but as long as there's a way to resolve some problems, like you just can't say, you can't say that. That's why the coaches get frustrated. And the best thing that I found from the weekend was when Des Hasler spoke up. The tackle Tino did, that's not a sin bin. It's not. Tino's
Mate,
6
that
foot.
wasn't a sin bin,
He's
man.
6'4", right? And
that wasn't a sin
he got
bin.
the guy. Unfortunately, the guy got a glancing blow to his chin.
Yeah.
That happens every day at training.
Yeah.
It happens every game, junior footy, everywhere, right? You just have to accept it. And the thing is that sort of works against the players is they're getting told to, at times, lay down to get a penalty. So,
100%.
like, I can see why, the pros and cons of it.
Yep.
If the players wanted to do something, they should speak up and say, we don't agree with what's going on, we want to change it. Or if they really wanted to take it a step further, just start running with your chin out and get hit in the face all the time, and then all of a sudden there'll be 5 people on the field. Because if that's what they're going off accidental high shots, no one will be on the field by the end of the game.
100%. And this is the biggest problem, is where You got to call the game for what it is, rather than doing a blanket rule for every single club.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's not fair for the supporters going out there to watch.
Paying money.
And look, these coaches are getting paid a lot of money. Their jobs are on the line.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to say or back themselves against, a game that went the wrong way because of a decision. Because, their head's on the chopping block all the time.
100% it is.
And this is what people don't understand. Like, these guys get a contract and hardly any coach fills the contract because they get sacked for the results.
Yeah. And what about a player who's worked himself into the team after 9 games of reserve grade, is an interchange player, goes on in 1 minute, he makes a tackle that touches the guy's face and then he loses his jersey the week after. Like, these are the things that they actually don't think about. People bust their asses to put themselves in these positions, and because they think they're trying to save the game, which they're not, can ruin, seasons for players, teams, coaches. Just let the boys sort it out on the field. The game will be better for it. Even the 6 again rule, they're all fatigued. You don't have to keep going 6 again.
Everyone's fatigued. Manly cop yesterday.
But that's another thing that's frustrating. There's no accountability there. You just hear them go and that, and they wave 6 again. Surely our team isn't that ill-disciplined to give away 4 penalties in a row. Like, seriously. They train all off-season and pre-season to be disciplined in these areas. Then all of a sudden, they just stops?
What I think is the 6 again is so easy for the referee.
Well, it's to
instead
control
of giving
the game.
a penalty, right? And before they give penalties, they had to even that out. Right?
Yep.
The 6 again, unfortunately, doesn't get evened out as much as what the penalties were back before the 6 again rule.
Yep.
But I want to go to South, because you were talking about what Wayne Bennett does really well. Now, everyone's watching these podcasts. They're loving myself, Kenny, Jake. But the best part about it is I love this shootout. I don't have to do anything. These lights are turned on. The camera guys are there. The producers are there. They do absolutely everything. They can't make it any easier to create a podcast. And you know what the best part about it is? You're going to have content for the rest of your life, and you're going to be able to watch these podcasts. Your grandkids are going to be able to watch these podcasts. These guys make it super simple. So why not hire this studio out? Hit the link in the bio, and let's see you here.
Oh, mate, I put something out on my Instagram.
Actually, look, you did say before the season started.
I said it before the season started, right? Yeah. They had the blows, and I thought...
And you had a gag order from a couple of the boys for saying it.
Yeah, I got absolutely hammered.
From Roosters fans, to be honest.
Yeah, got absolutely hammered, right? I said, Souths will win. They'll win these games with all these players out. They had both their halves out on the weekend for parts of the game, and they still won. Now, I'm not saying it's all Wayne, but he instills these mindsets in the players that if you have a crack for the whole 80 minutes... you'll win more games than you lose. Yeah. And that's all they're doing. Like, Latrell was back, obviously, that gives people a heap of confidence. The Roosters aren't playing to the best of their ability at the moment, which, worked against them. But you got blokes like Tedesco who's just going out there and playing his ring out.
I thought the Roosters came out pretty hard,
I thought they did too.
They did.
They're just, in some parts of the game, they slip and the other teams are taking advantage of that by scoring points, which is unfortunate, but they have the players there to still get in the 8 and knock a couple teams out. But as I said, the Rabbitohs at the start of the year, Wayne just instills confidence. He says, do your role. The fullback playing there, Gray, he's going on in leaps and bounds. He's playing like he's fucking 7 foot tall, mate. He runs the ball back as hard as he can all the time. He puts himself into positions of benefit for the team. He's got great hands, so... They'll just keep going. I was talking to a couple of mates that go for South, and I said to them, we're talking about Joe Gray, and I said, to be honest, I go, if I was playing with someone that small and he was running like that, makes you want to do it.
It'd pump me up.
Yeah.
I go, whether he gets smashed or whatever, but that guy's going at 100 miles an hour, giving 100% effort, which helps the whole team. But I want to point this out to you. Do you think... And I want to see what you think about this. Do you think, Wayne coming back for a second time with the players that were there before, they kind of missed that, that Wayne factor that they're lifting even more this second time round? Because imagine, your coach goes away for 2 years that you've played unbelievably well with, and he got the best out of you, and then, all of a sudden he's been gone for 2 years, and he comes back. How would that make you feel? Because if you're still at the club, would you go like, mate, this is our second chance now. This is for people like Latrell and Cody, who are sort of towards, their end of their career. Are they going, mate, we got the right guy coming back.
Yep.
Let's just go to another level now.
Well, all you have to do is look at Latrell Mitchell, right?
Oh, yeah.
Had a massive preseason, was looking rock hard fit, got an injury, and looks like he's come back even fitter.
Yeah, man.
You know, like that's the Latrell effect. You know, which for himself, if his standard for himself's there, everyone else has to be there because he's the leader. He's the cultural icon. You know, at South. So if his standards are high, and he's buying into what Wayne says, everyone else will do that. And that's like at any other club. You look at your Nathan Clearys, your Cameron Munsters, you know, all these players that want to be there for the coach. It becomes infectious, and it can also spin the other way. Like the teams that aren't going so well, that you know, there's probably a little bit of friction between the best players and the coach, or you know, within themselves because they're not winning. A bit of finger pointing comes out. You know, another team that's come along in leaps and bounds is the Tigers. Even though they got done by the Broncos on the weekend, mate, they're competing. Yeah, their whole attitudes towards the game's changed.
A mate brought this up to me, right? Look at this, right? So the two halves for the Tigers were 20, and the two halves for the Broncos were almost in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
So, guys, look at the experience and the gap you have between the two halves.
Yep.
And the discussion was just how hard it is to make the NRL. That was the discussion. Like, he goes, if you've got a disparity of that age group, he goes, there's not many half positions going in the comp.
No.
And, you know, it'll look for a while there that the Tigers are going to really challenge the Broncos in the first half.
Yep.
Do you think experience got the young fellas, you know, from the Tigers a little bit towards the second half?
I think so. I think watching it wasn't their energy towards the game. The Broncos they were different. They look like they're hitting their straps already. We're in round 5. You know, they look very comfortable with how they're moving the ball and how well they're defending. I thought the Tigers were great, but as you said, there's probably Reynolds and Hunt at 300 gamers.
You know, 600 games there compared to what,
plus
100?
your rep footies and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Then it was probably a good
Not
opportunity.
100, mate. There's probably 50 between the two of those
easily.
guys.
And then you look at Galvin, that would have been a good learning curve for him. You know, like he injected himself in the games at parts. But you see Reynolds and Hunt, if they weren't there, then the other person was there. Then you got Walsh at the back. So it would have been I reckon Benji this week would have sang their praises and said like, this is where we need to go.
Why did Benji not let Appy speak at the press conference?
Wouldn't have a clue. I wouldn't.
Did you notice that?
Nah, I wouldn't have a clue. I think
Appy didn't look happy.
Well, you even look at Des Hasler. I don't know if he said anything to Tino, but Tino didn't speak at the press conferences. You know, like there's little wars going on at the moment. It looks like between the coaches in the NRL because how frustrating is it, right? As we spoke about before, as a coach, you get told these things before the season starts. Then because all of a sudden they want to change the things before the season's actually got going practically, it'd be frustrating.
So Luai's suspension last week, I don't know what it was for.
Well, there was penalties where I didn't even... I felt sorry. There was a guy in the North Queensland game, I can't remember the ref's name. He had the camera on him for 25 seconds. He didn't actually know what he blew a penalty for, it looked like. He didn't know what he blew a penalty for.
Well, you put the referees on edge when you start to change these rules mid-season, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I feel sorry for him
Let
too.
me ask you a question. Why doesn't the boss come out and just say nothing and just say to the referees, talk to the players that if they go over this point, instead of making this massive media announcement?
Because it's all just...
Do you know what I mean?
Well, all it is it's in one week and it's out the next. Yeah. They're trying to do
But don't
things...
you think it's worse? Like, I'm making an announcement on it. And it's going to be very contentious the week after.
Yep. 100. Well, you know what they should do?
Or speak to them like in private, man.
But ref every game like it's an Origin. Have you noticed why Origins are so good?
Oh, it's
because it's the best players. It's because the referee just stays the fuck out of the game.
Yeah.
Like literally.
100%.
Like unless it's like a swinging forearm to someone's head, which no one really does.
Yeah. I haven't seen one of those, man.
Yeah.
Because
no one tries to hurt
days.
each other intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's and it ruins it for the supporters. It ruins it for the brand. You know,
it does.
And you know what? Like week to week, if you want your supporters to come back who pay for the game essentially because they're watching the TV, right? You know, obviously they're watching everything on Fox, on Channel 9. So they've got to look at how they can make it better for the fans.
Instead of trying to shove advertising down
But
everyone's
here's one
throats,
for you. I
just let
seen
them play.
Zach Lomax at Courtyard,
Oh, yeah.
and it was Friday, and he was there with Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, mate, how's it going, boys? And then Zach turns around and goes, mate, this is the game we have to win, Mids.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I turned around. I didn't know they could do it, Jake. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Only because I thought Clint Gufferson, who got pushed out of the club where Zach left,
Yeah.
I thought Clint had more to play for,
Yeah.
right? So I said to him, you got a couple of players out, one right next to you, Bailey Simonson, who you come to the gym with, and the other one, Mitchell Moses. So I was a bit concerned for him. But he was, and it showed at the end of the match how emotional he was, because when I looked at him, he looked like, man, if I lose this, man, I don't know what's going to happen to me. You know, like, not in a bad way, but he had to win this game.
I think.
And I just think St. George did have more to play for, right? But what a game he had. What a game.
Yeah,
That goal, 40 metres out,
Yep.
the drop goal, like,
It was
he
big
wanted
clutch
the
moments.
ball.
Yeah, there was big clutch moments, and that's the thing. I was watching the game, and it sort of ended up like a fairy tale for him.
It did, man.
You know, like everything aligned. He was kicking goals from everywhere, competing on everything,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, this opportunity for him to kick a drop goal against the team that he left the season before. But as we speak about it, hard work gives you those opportunities. Like Zach's the ultimate professional. He puts him, puts everything else before himself. And the funny thing is, everyone was bagging him last year, saying, "Oh, he's not a team player, doesn't want to play on the wing." There was times he was on the wing for Parramatta on the weekend.
Yeah.
So, like, everything that was said about him, it's just people in their own feelings about the situation. He will always do what's best for the team, as his actions have shown. And I think that win on the weekend will spark Parramatta. I think it releases the pressure valve on everyone.
Yeah.
I thought Brown has got better each week.
Yeah, he did run the ball more.
If you watch him play, he's actually getting better each week. And people need to remember, he's still a young man. That's a big decision what he had to make. So guess what? If it's going to take a couple of weeks for him to work through it,
Yep.
while playing professional sports and dealing with other things on the outside, that's just something you've got to wait with. Because guess what? Mitch Moses comes back in 2-3 weeks. Brown will be hitting his straps. Zach's already going. The front rowers will get on the back of that.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Parramatta, they string a couple wins together.
100%.
They'll be flying.
100%. And look, you know, obviously I've met Zach personally and Bailey. Mate, these two guys, like, they're on point in terms of, you know, the work they put in. You know, they don't have to come to Tighter Fitness. They train like 6 days a week. You could see the effort these guys are putting in and how much they want to win for the club. Look, I'm not a Parramatta supporter, but I can see the amount of work they're doing and the players they're going to get back. And like you said about Dylan Brown, when he runs the ball more, his confidence is going to continue to grow.
100%.
Right? And to be honest, if they can string a couple more games out of this, you know, it's going to really help his confidence, and it's going to really put them in a better position.
Anytime a club loses their 7, they're going to struggle. An example's the Melbourne Storm when Hughes was out last week against the Dragons, right?
That's
they look a little bit.
They would have never lost that game.
They looked a little bit rudderless,
Yeah, they
right?
did.
And they looked a bit rattled. Parramatta are going through the same thing, right? Munster's played 20 tests. Now, not to say that he can't do what Hughes does, but when you have both of them
together,
it's a different story, and that's what's sort of happening at Parramatta now. Yeah, they are missing Mitch Moses. Zach's started the season well. Brown's starting to come into it, and as I said before, like
they've also got Josh Adokar on the
100%, and the Nines is a fresh first grader.
Yeah.
He's played a handful of games.
Mate,
he goes hard. You know, so they're all learning on the
Does
run.
he remind you of Reid Mahoney a bit?
He does. He goes hard. He goes well.
hard.
He does all the 1%ers. You know, and the best thing is, Rolsey's assistant coaching career has put him in good stead for the people that he's learned. You're not going to win every game, but as long as you're competing and putting yourselves into positions to be able to win, which Parramatta have done in some games, and some games they weren't there.
Yeah.
But that's all part of learning for them, because they will get better.
Yeah.
That's a part of it.
If they've got everyone back,
Different team.
mate, they're going to be a completely different side. Like you
Different
throw
team.
Mitchell Moses in there, you got Josh Adokar, you got Bailey Simonson coming back.
Yeah.
You got Zach Lomax there. The fullback's doing a fantastic
Penasini's
job.
a gun.
Oh, Penasini's a gun.
He's a gun.
He's so hard to tackle. He
I
breaks a
thought-
lot of tackles.
While we're there too, I thought Gutherson was unbelievable for the Dragons.
Mate, I felt sorry for him.
Mate.
I'm going to be honest. Like, I watched him, and bro, that guy played out of his skin.
I thought it was the best game of footy all weekend.
Yeah.
I thought it was seesawing.
It was, you know.
It literally was.
Like, it was, you know what I loved about that game? You've seen real passion
It was.
by both sides. I mean, Lachlan Ilias, like,
Yeah.
is a bit contentious in that position
Yep.
at halfback, especially when it comes to the clutch moments.
Yep. Well, let's talk about Lachlan, right? He had a whole season off last year from a major injury. He's just come into been given the keys
100%,
to
I
a
agree with
first
you.
grade team.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to take him half a season.
Yeah.
The thing people are forgetting these guys are doing their best every game.
Do you think, let me ask you a question, you see how Wayne Bennett's got another halfback on the bench?
Yes.
Do you think that, Flano, knowing that this guy's coming back from injury, obviously, Wayne Bennett done it for Humphries, which is a smart move, right? Do you think that something like that to alleviate the pressure of the halfback, let him get his confidence back, let him get his fitness back, have another halfback off the bench, like you'd have a hooker, and give him a bit of time off?
Well, if I was a coach, when I look at rugby league, right, if you're aware of what Ilias has just gone through, subconsciously he's still trying to get his confidence back, right?
Yep.
And he has played well in parts of the game. What you hear most coaches say is, and Andrew John says it a lot, your attack comes off the back of your defence.
Yeah.
So if a half or someone coming back from injury, as an example also, if your defence is strong, that gives you confidence in attack. If I feel as the season goes on, and I say this for most things, is because once you get those reps in, those minutes, those wins, those losses, those learnings during the year, by origin time, and I understand most teams don't have that, but with the teams that are sort of trying to find their feet, I think Lachlan Ilias from, maybe round 10, 11, they'll begin to go a bit better.
Yeah.
That also gives Flanagan time to sort of get into his role as well, because they look like they're trying not to step on each other's toes at the moment. So I don't think they're meshing as well as they could be.
It's funny, every time you start talking about this, I think about business.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, like, give the guy the confidence.
Yeah.
Give him the confidence.
But
give him the ability to...
Confidence is earned through learning. So
Yes.
you have to allow them to figure it out on themselves.
Yeah.
The coach can only say so many things to you. You've got to go out there and try your hand and try and do that. Because the thing is, right, once they start winning, we have to pay homage to the 6 and 7 and the fullbacks. Gutherson's revving at 10.
10, yeah.
Now these guys need to meet him. He
Yeah.
can't bring everybody else up. They got to meet him there. And that would be their challenge. I feel is that Gutherson's saying, "Come with me, boys. Well, what do we need to do better next week?" And just keep building off the back of that. Your biggest learnings are in your losses.
Do you think Parramatta would have let Gutherson go if they knew Dylan Brown was going to go?
I think looking at it, it was a business decision.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a football decision due to the resumes.
Because of his salary going up.
Salary, and also the young bloke, is it Iongi? The fullback?
Yes.
He's going to be great,
Yeah.
right? If he wasn't getting a shot where he was before, which I think it was Penrith, he's a first grader through and through. That's the business decision. He's on probably lesser money, even though Gutherson's a stalwart in the heart and soul of that club. Yeah. That's the sacrifice you make. Gutherson was always going to get another opportunity at another club. Yeah. And the Dragons needed that calibre of player at fullback and leader.
Yeah.
Do
you think if Hunt stays and Gutherson's there, I mean, they wouldn't be able to afford both?
You can't.
You can't. Yeah.
That's what I mean by business decision.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it has to do with monetary exchange.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So Lomax will be happy when we see him in the gym this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big smile. I think I'd have a big smile.
Now the halves. Fucking hell, DCE, mate. He's really throwing a cat amongst the pigeons.
Well, do you know what, though? It's funny. Like, I look at, you talk about business, right? You see when one thing goes, the other things come.
Yes.
So Brown's come out and signed his deal. Now, the managers all talk to each other because they're trying to maximise profit, get the best pay for their players, right? I've got no doubt in my mind that the Brown
what do they
thing...
get, 7%, the managers?
6 or 7, I think, yeah.
Look, it's not an easy job.
Really? To pick a phone up and call someone? Come on, man.
I say that about Tyron.
Yeah, no,
No, he does a
it'd
good
have
job.
some kind of stress
Brave's
to
got
it, but
to.
like, man,
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that go into it. So obviously Brown went first, 10-year
Yeah.
deal. Good on him. I love it when people get paid.
Yeah,
It's
of
the best
course,
because you
of
understand
course.
what they go through.
Yeah.
So he's got the 10-year deal. Then all of a sudden, a week later, the DCE thing comes out. You've still got Galvin,
Yep.
who's on the market, right? I don't think he'll make a decision till Cherry Evans does.
Yeah.
I think that's the way the dominoes will fall. Reynolds is off contract, and it came out yesterday that the Broncos may not have salary cap space for him unless they jiggle around a couple of the mid-tier mid-tier players.
Yeah.
But they were even tossing up him going over to, I think it's Hull KR, where Willie Peters is coaching.
Really?
There's a rumour, which, you know, I don't, because Reynolds has come out and said that he won't play for another team because I think he's got a coaching gig at the Broncos after it.
Okay,
So, mate, Broncos could go out and win the comp this year
Yes,
and
yes.
you know, finish on a high note. Who knows? But there'll be a little bit of movement in the halves market, I think, in the next, you know, three to 6 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because, you know, what I don't understand is if Manly knew what they were going to do with DCE, why would they let Humphries go? You know what I mean?
Well, if you think about this, right?
Like I when I watched Humphries last year, and they were saying like his defence isn't the best. Mate, you watch him at South Sydney, his defence is fantastic.
Who's Seabolt's manager and then who's Luke Brooks' manager?
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
Isaac.
there's a couple things.
So Isaac's the wedge in the...
Well, it's what it is, you know what I mean? But one person's opportunity here is another person's opportunity there. It's the merry-go-round of contracts.
100%. And if you look at, you know Isaac, and there's couple of clubs that don't allow Isaac Moses players. I don't know if Bulldogs are one of them.
I'm not sure. I don't even
But
know.
I know Roosters are. I know Roosters are definitely.
I'm not even sure if Luke Brooks' manager is Isaac Moses. I'm just saying that I think there's certain things that happen behind the scenes that no one talks about. Exactly right.
And I think that's been well documented for a long time where managers run clubs.
Yep.
And to be honest, that's kind of what happened at the Broncos. And there's been a big clean out of the Broncos ever since then. And, you know, they've brought the club to where it's got to be. I think, you know, Madge going to the Broncos has been fantastic.
Well, what about this, right? So we want to instill all this governance on the game. Why don't we start instilling governance across player managers?
Why don't they do that?
Well, why don't you say you can only have a certain amount of players in this tier, in this tier, in this tier, and you can't have a coach or assistant coaches on your books if you're choosing to have players. You can either be a coach's manager or a player.
I totally agree with that.
Do you know what I mean?
I totally agree with that.
So if you want to govern the game and destroy it,
that would be a much better way because the managers shouldn't have control of the coach and all the players because at the end of the day, like it or not, they're always going to give someone else a better treatment, and the manager is always going to try and do what's in best interest for the manager, not the club.
Exactly. Well, if you want to attempt to dictate how people play rugby league, why don't you attempt to dictate how people can move players and coaches?
Yeah. And that's another thing I wanted to discuss with you, and we spoke about this a fair bit, where, you know, the game's not what it was like, you know, about loyalty and all that kind of stuff, because obviously clubs are moving on players, but if players decide to move, then all of a sudden it's not the same.
No. Well, this is the thing, like we spoke before, right? The business decision, how there was the players that moved to the Dragons, your Lachlan Ulysses and your Guthersons, right? They got celebrated. Even Fisher Harris leaving Penrith to go to the Warriors, he got celebrated by their clubs, right? Which is how it should be. Thanks for your service, on to the next, nothing's personal. Then you hear players asking for releases to go somewhere else due to things that are happening.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. Or you're this, or you're that. You can't pick and choose. So when one person wants to do it, it's different.
Yeah.
Other people, but that also shows the professionalism in clubs. That's why Penrith have won 4 competitions in a row, and some of the other clubs that want to attempt to paint a narrative of players is where they are.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
and that, you know, when I look at it, you know, when you're a supporter of a club, it starts to, like, you get a little, not at my age, I would have got a lot more affected when I was younger. But then you look at it and you go, okay, that's just business, man. And unfortunately, rugby league or any sport is a business now, and sometimes you're going to like what happens, and sometimes you're not going to like what happens.
And
You know
that's
what I mean?
that's normal. That's life, you know. Like there's going to be things that happen, and you're like, "This is unbelievable. I'm so happy." Then things will happen. You go, "What the fuck's this happening to me for?" Then you got to figure it out.
And what do you think about Penrith? I mean,
Do you know what?
have they lost too many players?
No.
No.
So this is what I believe. I reckon that loss on the weekend kickstarts them, right? Yo,
Yeah.
250 game milestone.
Yeah.
Penrith come out of the blocks,
Yeah.
fell away. Cowboys come home. The Cowboys are a different team at home, right? Different environment.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
how it's like. That'll kickstart Penrith because I was watching the after game and, you know, Yo, you could see in his face he was a bit disappointed. I think that whole playing group, that whole staff, they'll take that loss personally, and I think that'll kickstart their year. I think they'll go, we let our mate down, we let our leader, our soldier down. We're going to win so many games on the trot now. It's time for us to kickstart. You know, because the thing is, right, they've lost players every year.
Yeah.
They have, right?
Mate, a
And they've
lot.
turned up. So maybe this is a perfect time for them to look at the jigsaw puzzle and go, we need to actually shift some things here because what we're doing is not working.
Yeah.
And they've done that in previous years because, as you can see, all the talent that's left, and they've still found a way to win.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they have to bring a player in, move one on. I don't know what they're going to do, but it'll be interesting to see what that place does because, you know, they're capable of winning still, in my
So
opinion.
Blaze Talangi hasn't made that team yet, right?
Well, do you know what?
What's happening there?
I think, you think about this, right? You're a club that's won 4 comps in a row. Just because you go and buy the next best up and coming player, I think they're trying to allow him to see what they do and earn his jersey.
Yeah, so they're blooding him the right way.
I think they're just letting him observe what they do, right? And they'll inject him at the perfect time because he earned the right to wear that jersey at Parramatta. And, you know, he played a fair few games there last year, but also Parramatta weren't going that well. So that can also dictate people getting blooded and
still
all
young,
that sort
right?
of stuff. Still a
He's
young
still
fella.
young. So you think they're holding him? Like, I mean, you hear about it, holding players back because they're still young, or they haven't been put through the test to be able to make first grade yet.
I think what it is they're comfortable with the halves they had before they bought him. And I think they're allowing him to earn his right and observe what they do out there. Because once he gets that jersey, I don't think he'll lose it. So I think they're trying to build the hunger into him.
Yeah.
And once he gets going, he'll get going, I feel.
Yeah. Bulldogs 5-0.
What a
No
start.
Matt Burton. No what's the back row's name?
Kikau. Is it
Kikau.
Yeah.
Kikau.
Billy
So
Army.
think about it. 2 of their main players are not playing. They beat Newcastle 20-0.
It was a good game, that too.
Man, it was close.
It was close at the first half. I fell asleep.
What was it, 2-0?
2-0,
half-time?
yeah. 2-0.
And you know, when you look at their lineup, it's not like they got many big names in the side. You know what I mean? Like how important is culture, defense, players playing together, enthusiasm? They've got a lot of confidence.
Yeah, they do.
Like they've got a lot of belief.
They do, and they've bought well, mate. They bought smart.
Satili.
Yeah, if you want to go back, you look at what Gould's done,
Yeah.
right? Seraldo, he
Yeah.
coached all these blokes through their younger years. Maybe he had an idea if he got him, he'd get a couple of the ones after that, because Penrith obviously went on the run. You can't keep all the talent. Steve Crichton's a massive buy for them.
Yeah.
Great player, great leader, sets the example. You know, you got the, is it Mahoney, the 9?
Mahoney, yeah.
You know, he sets a good standard. He does have some unique tactics on the rugby league field, but those blokes.
He's the Michael Innes of the new Michael
You know,
Innes,
like
isn't he?
some of the things he does cross the line on, but that's a part of it too. You know, maybe if he gets suspended for 2-3 weeks for doing one of those acts, that might pull him into line a little bit. You know what I mean? But again, that's how he chooses to play the game. You have, I like Cherry.
Yeah.
I reckon he's getting, you know, since, you know, his suspension last year was very solid coming off a 4-year gap. This year he's gotten better. They've got Leo Thompson going there next year.
Cherry's he's really
He is.
He's really
He come in
of
here
age.
once or twice too. He's a
he's
big
a big
human.
boy, man.
Big human.
Big boy, yeah.
Who else have they've got? They've got I like King, the front rower.
Yeah, he's
I
good.
think he works hard. He does a
Yeah.
lot of 1% plays. And then obviously you got Billy Army on the edges.
Yeah.
But to have him missing and still go out and win. Like, I don't think people understand, like, he's not getting tackled one-on-one. It's taken 2 or 3 blokes to get him down, and even then he still has the ability to offload. Burton's a massive loss. He's their 6. Left foot kicking game.
Now, everyone's watching these podcasts. They're loving myself, Kenny, Jake. But the best part about it is I love this shootout. I don't have to do anything. These lights are turned on. The camera guys are there. The producers are there. They do absolutely everything. They can't make it any easier to create a podcast. And you know what the best part about it is? You're going to have content for the rest of your life, and you're going to be able to watch these podcasts. Your grandkids are going to be able to watch these podcasts. These guys make it super simple. So why not hire this studio out? Hit the link in the bio, and let's see you here. Yeah.
Strong in defence, ball runner.
Big eyeball.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's when he's not out there, sets of eyes aren't technically on him. They're on everything else off the back of that. Kurt Mann off the bench, he plays well. Great, solid defender in the middle.
But they're all players that they weren't really up there in first grade. I mean, what the Bulldogs and Sorella have been able to do is get a lot of these players that were sort of on the cusp of greatness, and they're able to instill toughness, hard work ethic, and playing as a team.
What I think you notice is rugby league players, the ones that are, I'll speak from my experience, the ones that come in and out and all that sort of stuff, a lot of them are first graders. They just aren't on the certain amount of money that other players are on. So money does dictate that to an extent. But when you have someone who is looking for 2 or 3 players that want to do the 1%ers and work hard, you'll notice they'll go and they'll play 30, 40 games in a row because of their attitude and the willingness and their professionalism. Because once those sort of players with those attitudes get those jerseys, you got to fucking pull it out of their hands. You know what I mean? They don't lose it.
Like
they want to stay
Tracy looks like a world beater.
Well, he went from the Sharks, killing it at the Sharks, and then massive opportunity at the Bulldogs.
Fuck, man, he's killing it at fullback.
Another thing I watched, the Craig Bellamy doco on Stan.
Yeah.
They were talking to, which is great, King, the front row they got from Newcastle. Right, so this is what the Storm do. I think they were talking, King was coming off the bench, in and out, all that. So he goes, I was just going to go back and work on the tools. And the Storm gave him a 2-year deal. And he's gone down there and played, I think, close to 100 games for him. Yeah. I think
Matt King.
He's just taken off down there, So those sorts of players, when you can get them in a group, if you watch them at training, you want to be where they are in the fitness because they're going to get those jerseys. So what have I got to do to get that jersey? If they're injured, I've got to make sure I'm here. And, it sets a little bit of a standard, not just on the footy field, but in the training facility.
Man, I think we covered a lot there.
We did.
Let me ask you finally then.
Yep.
Has the season changed your mind about the top 4, top 8? Or has it been bolters? I mean, it's funny, but it's too soon to call, isn't it? Because what I've seen, like you get to mid-year, 3/4 part of the year. I mean, what about the year when the Brisbane were right up the top and then they lost all those games and they missed the top 8? I don't think they're going to do that again. I don't think Brisbane will do that again. Brisbane's definitely a top 4 side for me.
They've got enough there. Everything's
Bulldogs top 4.
Everything's dictated by injuries.
Yeah.
If you lose 1 or 2 of your good players, it does affect
I think
run.
Melbourne, Brisbane and Bulldogs are top 4.
Yep.
But with the rest, they're going to fill in the rest.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what Parramatta do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm looking to see what Penrith do.
Yeah.
The two Western Cities. Because the thing is, if they start going...
What about the Tigers?
Tigers as well. You can name a couple. What I like the Titans. I think the Titans are finals bound off the flair that they have. If they can get their defensive, I'm not going to say maybe attitude a little bit higher. And I think when Kieran Foran comes back, that'll give them that little bit of oomph.
Yeah.
Because they got Big Tino. Yeah. Mate, he single-handedly won them that game last week. There was a couple flary plays by certain individuals, but to come back from not playing for a year and just going, I'm going to fucking do this and everyone get on the back of it.
I got a whole level of new respect for him, and I've seen him, behind the scenes in the States really working on his injury.
Yeah.
I go, this guy's serious about his rugby league.
Well, this is another thing Tino brings, mate. He's playing Origin this year.
Yeah,
That's a whole different dynamic for the Queensland team, because they did miss that last year.
Yeah.
He's their enforcer.
Yeah.
He's their Petro at the moment, in that Origin arena. And when he wasn't there last year, it probably... they have great players there to be able to play, but Tino's that top tier front row for them, as Payne Haas is for the New South Wales. So to see them go against each other in Origin will be a great battle in itself.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be surprised by the momentum swing because, as you said before, Origin will put some players in, zap their energy emotionally and physically. So you may see some teams,
Brisbane and Melbourne.
yeah,
right?
you may see some teams sort of fall away while other teams will rise.
Melbourne have always been able to navigate that better than any other side.
You know what? You know how these NRL teams are going overseas to look. If I was a coach and I want to know how to do things, I'd ask Craig Bellamy if I could come down for a week and just watch.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, that they may be tentative to do that because it's an opposing thing, but to be able to just go there and learn and watch, I think that would be a humbling experience.
Yeah, but like you look at Riles, he's been there under that system.
And the Roosters too.
He's been at the Roosters.
English Rugby Union.
You look at Maguire's been there. So it's not like a lot of these coaches haven't been there in and around the system, learn the system.
They've got the cattle, and the cattle buys into the program.
But do you think the rugby league manager that manages the club, he does a terrific job too? To me, it seems like they've got the main people there, which makes a big difference. And they've been consistent over so many years.
Well, I had a conversation with someone the other day, right? What's more impressive? 4 years, 4 comps at Penrith, or the 20 to 25 years that Melbourne Storm have had?
For me,
like, do you know what I mean? Like the short spurt or the longevity.
Penrith have done it 5 years, but they got to
made
a grand
it
final.
and then they won 4. So yeah, but then do you look at Melbourne's body of work? And
Melbourne's body of work's been unbelievable, bro. Like,
it's
man,
second to none.
that's just unbelievable.
So that's another discussion we could have for another time, I think. But it's I'm just happy footy's back.
Yeah.
I hope that the people that are telling the referees to do what they're doing just go away a little bit and let just
shut the fuck up.
Just fuck up. That's what I'd like to say to them. And then I hope the players keep competing how they are because they're actually doing the best they can in a shitty situation. And I hope there's some middle ground come with people being able to say what they want about certain things because it's one big sport. Just work together the best way you can and let the players play.
Well, I want to see how this unfolds. I want to see what we say towards the end of the year.
I won't say.
And exactly what happens.
I just like saying I'm right.
Mate, you brought up a lot of valid points.
Great.
You brought up a lot of valid points. I'm going to have to go back and watch this. Thanks, bro.
All right, man.
Thanks.